The drunken horny meet cute with Ava from last night rings in Michael's head when he wakes up in bed with her. It's morning, his hand is on her butt, and their clothes are all over Ava's room. His hungover groan awakens Ava too, who is just as hazed as him, but still pretends to be asleep when she feels like he is watching her. As his blurred vision clears up, he stares at a piggy bank on the bedside table, which is a really strange object for him to find in a grown woman's room. He moves it away from him, cringes when he looks at himself under the sheets, and puts on his socks to get out of bed. Then, he examines a ripped-up condom wrapper and puts his pants on so awkwardly that he loses his balance and falls back onto the bed, hiding Ava's legs with his head. He is still dizzy when he finds another childish item, a teddy bear, in Ava's room, and gets out of there, allowing Ava a chance to breathe. Michael is dressed now, and tries to be as quiet as possible when stepping out of Ava's room. He looks around her living room, while she drowns in humiliation in her bed. Ava sticks her ear to the door to inspect what he's doing in her living room, while Michael picks up a photograph and accidentally knocks over a cushioned seat. He is about to leave when his conscience holds him back, and he writes his number on a filthy paper napkin from last night, to leave behind as a note, but stops halfway and crams it back into his pocket. Michael contemplates knocking on Ava's bedroom door, not knowing that she's right there on the other side, eavesdropping. He finally leaves her apartment in confusion and embarrassment, and Ava lets out a sigh of relief. Ava gets out of the shower and tells herself off in the bathroom mirror, in disbelief at the mistake she made last night. With a towel wrapped around her body, she comes out of the bathroom to look for her phone in the purse lying in her bedroom. It's filled with all sorts of weird and gross stuff, except for her phone. She explores more of the mess around her room, and picks up the discarded condom wrapper with a pen in disgust. She throws it away, slightly relieved that they at least had protection, and searches her drawers and sheets, but still fails to get a hold of her phone. So she comes out into the living room and sifts through the magazines on the counter of her kitchen, only to turn around and jump in surprise to see Michael still sitting there on her couch. She makes him cover his eyes, as if he hasn't already seen her, and demands to know why he's still there. Michael tries to explain that she's under the wrong impression, but she turns him down politely, claiming that he won't get a second chance, because last night was a huge mistake. She goes on about how she's not interested in a relationship right now, and is very happy with her life the way it currently is. She opens the door to her apartment to escort him out, and threatens to call the cops, when she sees two cops already positioned to attack someone, right in front of her doorstep. This is when she realizes that Michael really had been telling the truth when he told her that he was sent back to her apartment even before he could make it to the stairs. Ava tries to get out of the unfavorable situation by requesting the police officers to let Michael sneak past them, but they shove her inside and lock her in, with a man she just had a regretful one-night stand with. Ava resorts to pressurizing Michael to leave, because he's a total stranger and she doesn't even remember his name. They both call each other out for stooping low to avoid each other, and get out of the awkward situation they've put themselves into. After a silent pause, Michael asks to use Ava's phone to make a call, because his phone is out of battery. Ava takes a dig at him that he probably wants to call his girlfriend, and Michael teases her for being jealous, but also clarifies that he has to call his brother so that he can rescue him. Ava shamefully admits that she doesn't have her phone on her, because she lost it somewhere last night. Then she accuses Michael of drunk driving them to her house, when in reality Michael didn't even have his car last night. He points out that she's not as much of a goody two-shoes as she thinks she is. Michael also finds it very weird that she doesn't even have a TV in this time and age, while she explains that her roommate moved out and took the TV with her. However, she does have a laptop, which she gives to him so that she can get rid of him as soon as possible. But neither of them knows that more police are surrounding the building, as the situation has worsened. Michael calls his brother Alex via Ava's laptop. His brother starts talking about how cozy he was with the girl at the bar last night, when Alex left them to be, and how this must be plenty fun for Michael, who hasn't had any action in a long while, all while Ava is still in the room and can hear him. Michael wants Alex to focus and help him out so that he can visit Ava's building, when all he can focus on is Michael's sex life, which is honestly quite disrespectful to Ava, because of the way Alex refers to her. He slightly mentions how Ava's building is being broadcast on every news channel, after which he loses track of thought again. So Ava jumps in, introduces herself, and convinces him to get some real information from Alex, who finds her undeniably hot. Alex reports that there is a hostage situation, and that the entire building is on lockdown, so the two of them will remain stuck for a while. Alex's fiancée Denise appears on the screen too, and says hi to Michael, as Ava has already moved away from the camera. She is curious to see who Michael is with, and brings up the name Jackie. At this point, Michael quickly shuts the laptop and tolerates Ava's crude remarks about his brother. Michael recalls having a bus dinner with Alex last night, where he had no appetite or will to eat at all. Alex is drinking beer, while Michael is sticking to his Diet Coke, when Alex reminds him that he warned him about Jackie being trouble, because he was looking out for his younger brother. Michael hates it when Alex calls him Mikey, but he still does it, and goes on about how being vulnerable makes Michael weak in front of women, unlike Alex, who doesn't allow himself to fall in love and be trapped. Alex has witnessed Michael moping around too much, so he invites his younger brother to his bachelor party, where he's going with his friends. In the present, Michael is making attempts to pry the balcony door open in Ava's apartment, as an escape route, but Ava warns him that it's dangerous, because her apartment is 3 floors up. As soon as Michael steps out on the balcony, a police helicopter targets him, so he swiftly sneaks back inside. Ava has been searching for more info on the internet, and discovers that an alleged gunman entered her building at around 3 last night, and has taken some hostages too. They also show footage of the alleged gunman, which is actually a clip of Michael panicking and fleeing onto Ava's balcony. Luckily, the reporter corrects that Michael is just a resident, and reiterates that the gunman is very dangerous. Feeling defeated, Michael moves to the kitchen and searches the fridge for food, because he is starving, even though Ava didn't grant him permission to do that. The so-called edible items in Ava's pantry reflect that she is a vegan, unlike Michael, who likes his burgers grilled and juicy. Michael stumbles upon an unopened box of stale cereal left behind by Ava's roommate, and stuffs his mouth messily with it. He childishly ignores Ava's advice to avoid sugary food on a hangover and profusely throws up, something Ava never does. She pokes fun at him and tidies up her room while he's still in the bathroom, trying to get his bearings back. A ring falls out of Michael's coat, and Ava puts it on to try it at the wrong moment as Michael steps out of the bathroom. Michael goes through her books, unaware that his ring is stuck on her finger, and reads out from one of her erotic novels to mock her. Ava justifies that her sister wrote this book, and calls it amateur garbage, which leads to Michael insinuating that she's jealous because she's an unpublished writer herself. Ava denies his allegation, but her mind goes back to when she went to her sister's book reading, which was pure torture for her, even though everyone else in the audience enjoyed it. Later, they fought because Ava was mad at her for competing with her and taking over her lifelong dream. Ava resents her younger sister for beating her at every positive milestone in life, while her sister calls Ava out for not being happy for her younger sister, and staying trapped in her own insecurities. Fast forward to now, Ava makes Michael a green smoothie to soothe his gut, and Michael doesn't dislike its taste, despite it being vegan. Now that they've decided to wait it out in this apartment, Ava shuts down Michael's efforts to make her open up to him. The other activity that Michael suggests they should do to pass the time is sex, because neither of them remembers what it was like. Ava rejects this proposition too, and hints that last night's events were a mistake, and probably disastrous, so doing it sober will cause them both disappointment. Michael reminds her of the silver lining, that she at least has company in this difficult situation, but she doesn't agree with him again. Michael realizes that this was Ava's first one-night stand, and shares that he doesn't even like drinking or going to bars, but Ava doesn't believe him. They both get close in the heat of the moment, and break away from eye contact with each other because of how intense it is. Ava had gone to the same bar where Michael was attending Alex's bachelor party after the fight with her sister. They both were drowning their sorrows in alcohol, until Alex pushed Michael to walk up to Ava, and Michael agreed only on the condition that he'd be able to leave after talking to the brunette. Michael went to sit beside Ava at the bar, drank a lot to get the courage, and introduced himself to her, only to be completely destroyed by an angry, drunk Ava who made it very clear that offering to buy her a drink wouldn't lead to her hooking up with him, or finding him charming. Then she quickly apologized for taking it all out on him, because she'd been having a rough night. As compensation, she decided to let him buy her a drink, which Michael found unfair, but he announced that he was going to buy her the drink anyway, and see if he still wanted to talk to her by the time her much-needed drink was finished. They told each other their names with smiles on their faces. Now, they're talking about their siblings. Michael wants to be there for Alex at his wedding, which doesn't mean much for Alex, but he has always been there for Michael. While Michael is very aware of how big of a mouth Alex has, he accepts that he has a big heart too, so there could still be some things he can learn from his brother. Ava apologizes for trash-talking Alex earlier, and thinks of what really happened last night. While Michael also doesn't remember much, he knows that she didn't want anything to do with him, and was more than guarded. The truth is that Ava has been having more than a rough night, more like a whole rough year, but she doesn't want to get into the gory details of her doomed life, especially when the room is still spinning to her. Michael keeps gazing into her soul keenly, because doesn't want to sit in silence the whole day, so she surrenders and opens up, admitting that she didn't want to be alone in her apartment last night, which is why she came to the bar, and yet wanted to be left alone. That's just how ironic her life is. Ava remembers that Michael had been drinking Roy Rogers, while she kept drinking wine, and they'd both made fun of each other's choice of poison. She disclosed to him that all Roy Rogers truly has is just Coke and grenadine, so he hadn't had any alcohol yet. She knew it because her ex-boyfriend was a bartender, and then Michael felt stupid, so he ordered straight scotch, which also exposed him even further in front of Ava, proving that he doesn't know much about alcohol. Ava ordered a scotch drink for both of them, while Michael shared that he doesn't drink much, because he was with a girl who liked to get drunk a lot, and he'd take care of her. He occasionally drinks beer socially, and just chose scotch because his dad loved scotch. Ava sympathized when she got a call from her mother, and even though she declined it, her ringtone revealed that she is just as nerdy as she had perceived Michael to be a while ago. Michael tried to be relatable to her by admitting that he was wearing Superman underwear, which Ava didn't believe at all. So he stood up at the bar, unbuckled his belt, and almost showed her, until she assured him that she believed him, just to keep his pants on. Now, Ava is on her laptop, and Michael starts drumming his things out of boredom, which annoys Ava a lot. Michael feels as if he's in detention, and Ava is sure that he must have spent a lot of his time there, judging by his behavior. Michael retaliates, saying that some people had to be popular, and not be nerds like her, who probably kept her face buried in a book and didn't have a boyfriend in high school. He assumes that she lost her virginity in college, and puts it out there that Ava does have many issues, but he has his fair share of problems as well. Ava lists those down in terms of negative character traits she can clearly see in him, but he doesn't really care and drops a folder. She gets frustrated at him and bends down to pick it up, unknowingly giving him an opportunity to stare at her butt. The folder actually contains the manuscript of her book, so she carefully takes it to her desk and resumes working, until Michael questions her about the topic of her book. Ava ranted to Michael about her sister last night. She had shown her rage at how the porn she wrote got published, when she didn't even want to be a writer in the first place, and was an escort for most of her life. Ava was upset about how her sister suddenly wanted to be like her, and steal her life, and how blind her parents are to this, as they view her like a little angel. Michael sensed some jealousy, but promised that he'd read one of her books if they are as interesting or fascinating as she claimed them to be. Ava laughed so violently at one of his jokes that she fell out of her chair at the bar and got to drink on the floor. Their night progressed into debating about movies, and Ava looked fondly at him, because he sounded smarter when drunk. Michael mentioned how Jackie, his ex-girlfriend to whom he was engaged for 6 months, never liked action movies. They broke up when Michael found out that she cheated on him, and Ava drunkenly tried to look appealing to him, because she had developed an interest in him by now. Michael pulled out the very expensive ring he had bought for Jackie, and Ava wondered why he still carried it around. Ava then convinced the bartender to make them shots, even after the last call, and Michael noticed that Alex and his friends already left the place and ditched him. Ava came up with the idea of them leaving the place together, and they were so drunk when they left that Ava forgot her phone inside. All while a creepy man at the bar pulled out a gun on a woman and the bartender. They ran into a cheerful taxi driver outside the bar, who agreed to drop them off at Ava's place, as it was closer, and had rushed them to sit in the car when he heard gunshots inside the bar. The gunman stole a car and drove off while Ava and Michael were still in the taxi, going over the rules for this one-night stand. Ava made it very clear that he must use protection, not sneak out in the morning after, and not expect her to get into a relationship with him. The taxi driver Paco was closely listening in on them, while also being aware of the gunman in the loose situation. Ava made him stop the car on the way because she wanted to eat hot dogs. A new police officer arrives at the crime scene now, and Michael and Ava's reputation as the miserable one-night stand couple precedes them. Michael tries to reason his way out of being kept inside Ava's apartment, but the officer schools him on how he should have made more of an effort to know the girl he was hooking up with. Michael is starting to lose his patience now, and gets agitated at Ava when she declines Alex's call by herself. Michael snaps at her and calls her manipulative, which is probably the reason why her roommate made a run for it. He gets more emotional, and goes on about how it was probably a lie from her that she never brings guys to her apartment, and then she grabbed his heart and destroyed it. Ava learns that the she in question over here is actually Jackie. Michael seems to be out for blood, and says so many harsh things about her character, and low self-esteem that tears well up in her eyes, and she states that he'd rather be deceased than stuck in this apartment with him, just like Kevin. Last night, Ava committed a mortal sin as a vegan by wolfing down more than one hot dog. Michael was so busy talking to her that he didn't even notice that Jackie was calling him. Ava shared that her relationships changed because of her dietary lifestyle, but Michael didn't have a problem with it, and didn't understand at all how anyone could not want to be with her. In response to this, Ava blurted out Kevin's name, her ex-boyfriend, who randomly got up one day and moved out of her apartment, and even took her TV with him. They both agreed that they had been equally screwed in relationships, and decided to get more drunk to forget about it. Michael went to get them drinks and left his phone on the table. Ava listened to the voicemail Jackie left for Michael, apologizing and accepting how good he is in bed. Jackie asked for a second chance and was seeking forgiveness, but Ava quickly deleted her voicemail in a panic when she saw Michael walking toward her. Michael decided to keep talking to Ava and was about to kiss her when she threw up, because of all the booze and meat in her system. Michael held her hair back until he threw up himself out of disgust. He stepped in her puke and cleaned her face, putting the dirty napkin in his pocket, which he discovered this morning, and offered to drop her home, but Ava didn't want to derail their plans. Now Ava is locked in her room, crying, while Michael apologizes to her because he feels awful. He confides in her about Jackie, who was his girlfriend for more than 6 years. He had proposed to her after his father's passing, because he remembered how much his father liked Jackie. He understands now that he was impulsive, but still never expected her to cheat. He agrees with Alex now that he's way too vulnerable, and he thinks that he lost the ring last night. Ava unlocks the door and lets him in. They lie on the floor as she opens up about Kevin, who bailed on her because she's a control freak. Now that they're vulnerable, Ava comes clean about the ring stuck on her finger and compliments his taste. He still holds on to the only thing he has left of Jackie because he hasn't been able to let go. He gently takes the ring off her finger and puts it back in his pocket. Last night, they moved on from hot dogs to karaoke in front of an audience, which led to a night full of fun, hopping to different places across the city where they ended up at Ava's house in the end. Even there, they goofed around and made memories of a lifetime that they don't properly remember now because of how intoxicated they were. They actually liked each other and were so busy making out on their way up to Ava's apartment that they didn't even notice the gunman from before, Curtis, trying to enter the building to get to an ex who already got a restraining order from him. Their carelessness led to Curtis entering the building and breaking into his ex's house. Michael and Ava had really good chemistry in bed, but as soon as Michael put the condom on, he noticed that Ava had already fallen asleep, so he fell asleep beside her too. Waking up beside Ava on the couch, as they both fell asleep while talking, brings back the events of last night to him crystal clear, and he knows now that they didn't even sleep together. Having her face so close to him draws him in, and they kiss. Things escalate, and they're about to sleep together when Ava takes some time to go to the bathroom to look good for him. During this time, Michael finds a box of Kevin's memories under her bed. They bicker but get close again, until the police knock and interrupt them again, to inform them that they're free to go now. They return to their old lives and move on, getting rid of Kevin's box and Jackie's ring. Ava makes up with her sister and decides to go ahead with her book, and Michael cuts off Jackie from his life completely. Ava calls Michael on the day of Alex's wedding, and soon after, he finds out that Jackie cheated on him with Alex, so he storms out of the wedding and gets together with Ava. A night filled with blurred memories gave them the most clarity in life.